Hello and welcome to the first webinar that I am doing. My name is Felix Shalom, and this is a webinar for HeliCloud. To start, just like to, as I said, introduce myself again, Felix Shalom, business development here at HeliCloud. And in terms of the content of this webinar, we're going to take the following steps. So firstly, I'll be discussing what a content delivery network is with respect to HeliCloud and reference to the Amazon CloudFront, the application on the AWS cloud that's integrated into many different firms within the sports industry. This will include a detailed overview of the infrastructure, including some discussion around AWS Elemental and other application. This will then go on to some examples of how it can be used in the context of the sports industry. This will feed nicely into the data analytics capability of AWS Cloud and how companies use machine learning and data-driven solutions to kind of predict and enhance the performance on the pitch or field, again, depending on the sport. I'll then look to explain Amazon SageMaker, which will allow me to delve deeper into the machine learning capacity of AWS Cloud, before finishing with customer case studies and then some time for Q&A. This is my first webinar, so I'm very excited. Imagine this will be an opportunity to learn from both myself and the audience. So as I said, kick back, relax, and enjoy. So as a bit of an introduction, since the advent of computers in the middle of the last century, our lives have become, considerably more computerized and digital. Computers are no longer just the numeric calculators they once were. Databases and digital media have taken the place of printing on paper as the main kind of medium of information storages, and digital communication over computer networks has kind of supplanted the post as the main kind of mode of information transfer. First with the personal computer with its easy to use graphical interface, and then with the phone and other smart devices. And the computer has almost become somewhat of a ubiquitous device, a household appliance, kind of like a radiator or a microwave. And nowadays, there's all sorts of information, not only numbers and text, but also now we have image and video and audio that need to be stored, processed, and thanks to online connectivity, they can be transferred digitally. Now, more often than not, information is transferred across the world, and often this is in the form of live events. So in this situation, one must ask the question, how am I able to see images and videos live on my television or computer the moment it is happening 5,000 miles away? And with this, I introduce AWS, the cloud platform that acts as the infrastructure to house what is known as a content delivery network. And that's kind of what you see right in front of you here. So just in brief, the content delivery network, the CDN, refers to kind of a geographically distributed group of servers which work together to provide fast delivery of that content. So it allows for the quick transfer of assets needed for loading this internet content, things like JavaScript files, images, videos, style sheets, and the like. Now, within the context of AWS, Amazon CloudFront is the application, it is the CDN, and it securely delivers data, videos, applications, and APIs to customers globally with low latency and high transfer speeds, all within kind of that developer-friendly environment. CloudFront is integrated with AWS, both physical locations that are directly connected to the AWS global infrastructure, as well as other AWS services. So to kind of take that back a step and kind of explain that in the relevance of the sports industry, let's use the context of American football and the NFL, a world-renowned sport that is watched by hundreds of thousands of fans from around the world. Now, the question now lies, how is this content delivered around the world in real time? So for the purposes of this example, let's say that there are 4 areas that want to access the content. All 4 of these areas shown below, Latin America, Africa, Russia, and Australia, all looking to enter and see the content that is being streamed live in the USA. So let's follow the set of these users in their journey. Let's look at Russia. they make a request to the content, and they quite clearly have to travel a long way to arrive in the USA to access the content. They have to hike all the way to the USA and then back again to be streamed in their country. And the amount of time that it takes is usually measured in milliseconds. And this trip is significantly longer than a trip from the UK, for example. As you can see, the further you are away from the source, the longer it takes for the content to travel, and therefore the slower the content will arrive. Now, this is where the CDN comes into play and how it actually accomplishes this increase in speed, which is by reducing the amount of the distance between the user and the content or the server providing the content. What it does is it places these content delivery network edge location points in as many points around the globe as possible. Now, when a user in Russia or Latin America tries to access the content, it's first received by the CDN service. So this little blue square that you see, the blue rectangle in the bottom left, is signaled CDN server. It's retrieved by the CDN server and then distributed around the world. So we have a single request going on in the USA server in the gold. And instead of going all the way to Dallas, our users in Russia can access the content directly from the nearest geographical server location. And that, in effect, drastically reduces the amount of time it takes to receive that content. In terms of the benefits of this, obviously the first one being speed, the speed at which that content can be received, and the ability to access that content in almost real time. And what we're not seeing here is also some of the indirect benefits. So an indirect benefit here is the reduced traffic that the original server in the USA will experience, a reduction in the load or capacity that is needed in the USA to serve all of the users tuning in from around the world. The USA environment may also see another benefit, which being uptime. So uptime being the amount of time that a service is available and operational. So furthermore, and lastly, because the user is not directly communicating with the server in the USA, you get the further indirect benefit of an increase in security through obscurity. Now, all of these concepts are in place to provide a better experience for the user. And on a side note, in the image we can see here that the arrow from Australia to Africa is quite large, which perhaps means that the content may lag behind a few milliseconds. That's perhaps one of the costs of living in Australia. Okay, just quickly check if there are any questions before we move on. If there's anybody that thinks that needs explaining anything further, and I see there's nothing there as of yet, so we'll move on. So I've just spoken about the content delivery network, and now I want to bring it back to the Amazon Web Services and how the content delivery network, how it operates within the infrastructure of the AWS cloud. The content is delivered through the CDN, known as Amazon CloudFront, out to the edge locations that we just spoke of, and to the end users. Once again, it is the edge locations that are dotted around the globe that make the content deliverable so efficiently and at such speed. And one other element of this diagram that must be described a little further is the AWS Elemental Media Package that's shown here in the bottom left of the screen. Now, as a cloud-based service, AWS Elemental, it protects and distributes the video content to kind of a broad range of devices, so your laptops, your desktops, your phones, your iPads, all that sort of stuff. The service can take a single video input from an encoder like AWS Elemental, package it in multiple streaming formats, and kind of automatically scale it in response to the demand. So we spoke about traffic earlier, and the CDN providing the indirect benefits of reduced traffic for the original user, and AWS Elemental kind of furthers this outcome. Now, let's move on to kind of some customer case studies, and you may be wondering why Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt are down there in the bottom right, but we'll get to that. So the first is Future Sports Media, who are a technology provider based in Europe that serve the sport and media communities with kind of software and online solutions for capturing, publishing, and monetizing the most exciting moments from sporting events at any level. Just to give you a bit of background, the CEO of the FSM said, this on AWS Cloud. We moved all our workloads to AWS. With that move, we have been able to cut costs, improve our software development process, and innovate faster. At the same time, we've been able to improve the performance and stability of our products. The AWS Elemental Media package was surprisingly easy and fast to set up, and the use of Media Live for our live encoding and Amazon CloudFront for our CDN for live streaming allows us to be at the absolute forefront of sports TV media tech. Now, hopefully that statement provides a glimpse into how AWS is working kind of to improve the sports industry and to stay at the head of innovation. And now onto my second example, which actually leads on quite nicely to the second half of my presentation. So the data analytics side and the compute capability of the AWS cloud in providing data solutions to predict and also enhance performance. Second example is the Major League Baseball. And the sport of baseball is, of course, streamed throughout the world. Viewers tune in from every area of the globe to kind of catch a glimpse of, the Yankees or the Red Sox. And part of that baseball that utilizes AWS is the MLBAM, the Major League Baseball Advanced Media. And this is kind of a partnership between the club owners of MLB, based in New York, and it's kind of the interactive branch of the league. So the MLBAM, Major League Baseball Advanced Media, not only needed Amazon CloudFront as a CDN to deliver the content to the fans, but as a platform and way to capture and analyze kind of every play using kind of data collection and analysis tools. Through AWS Cloud, MLB is a platform that quickly ingests data from ballparks across North America, provides enough compute power for real-time analytics, and it can produce these results in seconds and shut them down during the off season. And again, we talked about traffic earlier, and this is an important point, because not only does the MLB platform need to be, firing on all cylinders when the season is on, it needs to be able to scale down when not in use in the off season to reduce costs for the MLB for compute storage, compute power. With the AWS cloud, all of this is possible, and Amazon CloudFront delivers a kind of a scalable solution to serve up these changing APIs. So we've spoken in brief here about data analytics, and this brings me briefly towards the film Moneyball, and which is by far one of my favorite films. So Billy Beane, who is Brad Pitt plays Billy Beane. He's the general manager of the Oakland A's, a baseball team, and one day he has an epiphany. Baseball's kind of conventional wisdom is all wrong. And he has a really tight budget, and he must reinvent his team by outsmarting the richer ball clubs. So he joins forces with Jonah Hill, with a Yale graduate, and they began to challenge these old traditions. They begin to form a team based off of statistics, based off of data analysis. And this kind of game, and they're looking for players with this game-winning potential that are seriously undervalued on the market. It could be for the way they throw the ball, or their appearance, or different techniques that aren't considered, the norm, or aren't considered good or above average. So kind of this game-winning potential that Jonah Hill sees, it derives from the stats and data analytics read by the pair. And I won't ruin the film for anyone that hasn't watched it, but it provides an incredibly strong use case of how analyzing data can kind of help to predict and enhance performance. So going back to AWS is the modern day infrastructure that can provide the tools and applications for this type of data analysis that we saw in the film. So these data points could include a player's base-to-base running speed, a pitcher's velocity when he throws the ball, his exit velocity of home runs, or where the batted ball lands. So all of these can be logged and analyzed on the AWS cloud and contribute to solutions that win championships. So how is this kind of data, how is it captured, how is it analyzed, and how are the results portrayed and distributed to the relevant parties? And that's where we move on to the second half of my presentation, machine learning and AI services. So within this second half, I'm going to look to define machine learning. I'm going to look what it means in the context of AWS, and some case studies will follow of how AWS is assisting the industry. I'll then look to finish with how HeliCloud have used our expertise on the AWS platform to kind of help a specific customer in the sports industry. So on a more general level, kind of what is machine learning? Well, first of all, it's important to say that machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. Machine learning is the study of computer algorithms and how they can improve automatically through experience. Machine learning algorithms build a mathematical model and known as training data in order to make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed to do so. So this training data could be something as simple as the number of corners a football team gets in the first half of a game for the whole season. So within these algorithms that are, of course, mathematical models, we can make predictions for the team that could include rationale like, okay, so if there are more corners in the first half, that leads to more wins. As a result, the data scientist that's devised and created these models, it can take this data and go to the football coach to try and implement a strategy to increase the number of corners won. So clearly, it's important to say that one of the drawbacks of this concept is clearly in its name. It's a machine that's learning, and it takes time to learn the correct model that has trained the data in the correct way for the data scientist watching. And what is so interesting about machine learning on AWS is that it's a fully integrated environment. And with Amazon SageMaker, the engineering and training of the algorithms or models happens incredibly quickly. Now, Amazon SageMaker is a fully managed service, and it provides every developer and data scientist with the ability to train, build, deploy machine learning models. Traditional machine learning development is very complex. It's very expensive, and it's almost an iterative process, made even harder because there are no kind of integrated tools for the entire kind of machine learning workflow. You need to stitch together tools and workflows, which can be kind of time consuming and of course error prone. SageMaker kind of solves this challenge by providing all of the components used for machine learning in a single tool set, a single integrated environment, so kind of models can get to production faster with less effort and lower cost. It's an integrated environment, as we've spoken of. This increases efficiency and helps for the algorithms to kind of learn faster in a more condensed environment. Now, just quickly on AI, and I hope all of this is making good sense. AI, as we know, means artificial intelligence, and AI services provide ready-made intelligence for applications and workflows to help improve business objectives, business outcomes. It must be noted that you can kind of build AI-powered applications without any machine learning expertise. This includes applications like Amazon Comprehend for advanced text analysis, or Amazon Forecasting for demand forecasting. Clearly, this is a brief overview of AI, and has a lot more capability than what I've talked about specifically in the last minute or so. But I'll offer a stat now, taken from the AWS website, which I believe kind of gives a good summation, and it gives a good demonstration of kind of how important a tool AI can be. So for data scientists, when using AI services, their productivity improves by up to 10 times. Now, considering data scientists are at the forefront of the industries that are the most sought after professionals, in my opinion, to improve the productivity by up to 10 times to work along AI, it definitely is a forward-thinking tool and one that we need to use for the future. So now that we've kind of explored the themes of machine learning and AI services, and we have a better understanding of some of their kind of capabilities, I want to take it back to sport and how it's used in the industry to kind of drive change, to enhance and predict performance. So I'll give you next-gen stats. Now, next-gen stats is part of the NFL being American football. AWS and NFL work very closely together to track the scale, kind of speed and complexity of the NFL data. And it's called next-gen stats. And with AWS machine learning and artificial intelligence technology, the NFL has developed ways to visualize the action on the field, uncover greater insights, and expand the fan experience kind of by offering this broad array of plethora of advanced stats. So let's break it down a second. And how is this actually working? So first of all, how do we capture the data? In order to capture the data, small tags, as you can see in the top left corner, small tags are placed on players' shoulder pads and the game ball. And ultra wideband receivers track the players and ball movement down to the inch. Now, the data collected leverages other capture and storage processes, and these kind of are housed on Amazon EC2, S3, and Amazon EMR. So once the data has been captured, how do we analyze it? Well, this real-time data is combined with kind of traditional box score, kind of play-by-play data to calculate hundreds of metrics. These metrics run through kind of machine learning models built on Amazon SageMaker, as we discussed, to output predictions, stats, and more. So, in brief, now that it's been analyzed, how do we distribute it? Now, the NFL leverages a range of different AWS services: AWS Lambda, Elasticache, QuickSight, RDS, Root S3, API gateways, and DynamoDB. And all of these applications kind of put the insights, predictions, and stats into broadcast analysis, scouting, and coaching tools. There's clearly a significant amount of capacity and capability within the AWS cloud, and this is really shown within this high technical partnership. So what are some of the results that we found? So different things have been found. So the completion probability. So the probability of a completed pass is based on numerous factors. The separation of the passer from the receiver, where the receiver is on the field and the nearest defender. Other results like expected yards after a catch. Amazon SageMaker outputs the expected yards after the catch. So based on numerous facts using tracking data, such as how open the receiver is, how fast they're traveling, how many defenders are in their space. And again, another stat could be expected catch rate. So how often a passer throws a risk pass based on the probability of an incompletion or interception. Now, we're going to talk a little bit now about how NFL and AWS have leveraged this partnership to do good, but just as a side point, the fact that we're analyzing this specific data makes the standards a little bit higher. And every time that new young guys come through the ranks in the NFL division, they've got to be hitting these higher targets, these higher statistics every time, because that's the bar that's set. And AWS provides that bar. And as a result, we can see an enhanced performance, an increased ability in the athletes. So moving away from the next gen stats there and into an initiative which has an alternative. It takes an alternative theme. So in 2019, 2 years after the Next Gen Stats initiative has started, the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell kind of joined Andy Jassy, the AWS CEO, to announce that the NFL will kind of continue to use the AWS services in more detail, and this will go on to look at the extensive amount of data generated by the NFL and look to develop the capabilities necessary to transform the league's players' health and safety initiatives. Now, it's always been, if you're an avid follower of the NFL, it's always been a big problem in the NFL that NFL players and ex-NFL players, when they get to 40, 50 years of age, they start to suffer different brain problems. And a lot of that is due to the heavy hits that they get within the NFL sport. So AWS is working closely with NFL to see how they can combat that and kind of transform the health of the players. So as part of this joint effort, AWS and NFL are looking to kind of create a digital athlete platform, one could say. This is almost kind of a simulation of an NFL player. It combines, numerous data sources to help the NFL test a limitless number of scenarios without risk to athletes. Kind of by simulating these different situations, the NFL can gain a better understanding of how to treat, rehabilitate, and also kind of prevent these injuries in the first place. So through the use of computer vision models, AWS and NFL they aim to better detect and understand the underlying forces that cause these concussions. And these same techniques developed to help detect and prevent concussions will be extended to reduce a wider range of injuries, and could have a profound effect on player safety by reducing injuries overall into the future. So hopefully that's a good sense that AWS are having serious assistance in enhancing sport, but also protecting the players that play it, and that's also of high importance. Now, moving on now to another customer case study, which involves a sport that perhaps is a little bit closer to my heart, and that is football. AWS in January 2020 struck a deal with the Bundesliga to deliver a unique combination of real-time advanced statistics and game analyses to kind of football fans around the world. For those of you who don't know, Bundesliga is the German football league, and they're, as we said, working with AWS. So, like we have the NFL Gen Stats, now we have the Bundesliga Match Facts. The Bundesliga Match Facts are generated by kind of gathering data from the live game video feeds that are streamed by AWS for analysis, and then provided back to the broadcaster around the world and the viewers as in real time as statistics. So these statistics help audiences better understand things like the strategy involved in decision making on the pitch and the probability of a goal for each shot. As of May 26, average positions will be available. Average positions being a branded phrase of a type of statistic that's going to be released. And this is going to be available during the future broadcasts of these Bundesliga matches. And again, we have another one, X goals, and that will all be available. So what are these two things, average positions and X goals? So average positions, in respect to that, so fans will now kind of be able to see the positioning of a team's players on the pitch and gain insight into the team's intended playing style. So average positions provide the new insights, performed on data captured from tracking a player's average location on the field, which can then be displayed in real time. So this allows viewers to identify the current momentum on the field or the tactical changes that a manager has made, and kind of direct the responsibility or of a goal to a manager or a specific player or making a run. So and this, as we said, can help pinpoint if a team is setting up an attacking or defensive style, pressing the middle or utilizing the wings. And by displaying the average location and position of each player in real time, average positions, they help fans understand tactical changes as the game progresses. Now, let's move it over to X goals, and this is again looking at machine learning capabilities, and we're using Amazon SageMaker here. So this is a fully managed service, as we discussed, but the Bundesliga can now assess the probability of a player scoring a goal when shooting from any position on the field. So the goal probability is calculated in real time for every shot to give viewers insight into the difficulty of a shot and the likelihood of a goal. To calculate the precision of this, machine learning models were trained by analysing 40,000 historical shots on goal, in addition to an array of features derived from kind of positional data, including distance to goal, angle to goal, player speed, number of defenders in line of the shot, and also what can the goalkeeper see. And this may provide solutions to age-old arguments between football fans about, is this goal better than the other one, or well, this goal took on more importance in this game, so technically it could be better. So these sorts of things, these characteristics of goals are kind of evaluated over using millions of data points to give the in AWS's eyes the ideal solution. Now, Andreas Hayden, who is the executive vice president of the digital innovations of the Bundesliga group, he had this to say about AWS within Bundesliga. AWS is helping the Bundesliga enhance the broadcast viewing experience by delivering deeper insights into the game that didn't previously exist. With AWS, Bundesliga is able to provide real-time statistics to predict future plays and outcomes. And these two new statistics are just the beginning of what we'll be able to deliver for football fans as we look forward to unlocking new ways to better educate, engage, and entertain viewers around the world. So that's a brief overview of what AWS are doing also for American sport, but also British sport. And we'll evaluate kind of the open-mindedness of and the culture within the sports industry, whether they're willing to take on this kind of new cloud technology. But first, I'd like to kind of move away from AWS customer case studies and talk a little bit further about HeliCloud, the company that I'm representing today within this webinar. So HeliCloud, as you can see on the left there with the icon, have worked with a company called BritBet. So this is HeliCloud's sole experience within the sports industry, and BritBet came to us looking to develop a new pool betting service to be rolled out in 2018 for 56 race courses across the UK. Now, HeliCloud came in and we spoke at length, as we always do with BritBet, to work out the specific challenges that they want to overcome. And that's always HeliCloud's tactic, to come in, have technical consultations, and to not offer our services specifically, but adapt them and make them malleable to the demands of the customer. And that's always important, of what the customer wants. So within gambling and within the BritBet industry, it's natural that at certain times there'll be a lot more traffic through a website, through the infrastructure. It needs to have, scalable architecture so that in intense sporting moments, the platform can handle the increased traffic. And that's what we see within the Major League Baseball advanced media, is that in times of uptime, when there is a significant amount of traffic, when it's down on the ninth and it's one swing to win the game, that's going to be increased traffic. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, when everyone's asleep, we want to be scaling down our architecture, scaling down our compute power, so that we're reducing our costs. So as we've spoken about, so originally BritBet were planning to host the servers in kind of on-premise data centers, and with hardware costing up to perhaps £1 million to deal with all this compute power and scale up for traffic and scale down. So through consultation with HeliCloud, they migrated and deployed into the AWS public cloud solution. And I think that's testament specifically to, even without significant experience in the specific industry, HeliCloud are able to implement significant cost savings for the client. And this is illustrated further, in the capability of HeliCloud in providing cost-effective solutions. We're malleable enough to work across a variety of industries. And even though we may not know the specifics of, what's going on in the sports industry, we have definitely the expertise to be able to go in and consult and offer solutions based on, the demands of the client. And that's incredibly important. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. And this, of course, will be recorded and put up on YouTube.